Problem ka na so yeah. How many of you are here? Okay, we'll start the class now. Okay. Today we'll discuss about the states. States as subjects of international law. A minute. It may be a little bit noisy today. Okay. So please we try to understand. Today we will discuss about states as subjects of international law. The states are the primary subjects of international law. Okay, they possess the totality of rights and duties under international law. So it is difficult to define state since it may have a different meaning according to the thinking of the writers. So we can't just define state and we can just say this is the meaning of a state. We can give the appropriate definition. But different writers, thinkers, they give definition of state like the term state it derived from the word status, which was first used by the Teutons. And Aristotle, he defines state as a union of families and villages having for its end a perfect and self-sufficing life, by which we mean happy and honorable life. So, like in constitutional law or in international law, the meaning of a state might be different. Okay, it may mean something quite different. So, like as I've said, it is difficult today to lay down an appropriate definition. And in international law, it may be defined as a society. Here, as Salman has mentioned about state in international law, it may be defined as a society of men established for the maintenance of order and justice within a determined territory by way of force. So, in international law, we can say that there will be a society which is occupied by men. Okay, so the place they occupied will be their territory, and the members living in that territory will be bound together, okay, by the tie of common subjection to the government, and they have the capacity to enter into relations with other countries, other states, and other nations. Okay, so in international law, we can say that like appropriate definition is not given, but as according to international law, we can say that the state is a society, men occupying a territory. Okay. People are there and they are living in the territory in a particular area, and those people living in a particular area are bound together by the tie of common subjection. So, according to international law, that is the meaning of state. Oppenheim's definition is there. So, in Oppenheim's definition, a proper statement, like a definite state in contradistinction to colonies. Colonies, do you know the meaning of colonies? Colonies are a full or partial political place, no, uh, a particular area in which a full or partial political control of another country. How will say a particular place which is under the control party or partially under the control of another state. Okay, so here in Oppenheim's definition, he gave four conditions which must prevail for the existence of the state. Uh, First, it's a population. Second, country, government, and sovereign. So, not exactly the same, but in Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States of 1933. It did not define the term, but it gave what certain qualifications of state, which are more or less identical with the definition of this Oppenheim. So in that convention, they give the four qualifications of state, like people, territory, government, and capacity to enter into relations with other country. It's almost same, like it not exactly same, but according to them, like people, population, the word they use is different, but it's most of them are same. The meaning, the population here, population, it's what, like made up of people living together. So people, when they reside in one particular place, they form a population. Okay, and that qualification is made up by the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States. Okay, you have to, apart from this, you also have to know about that Montevideo Convention. And we'll discuss this in detail. Population. By the term population is meant people. Okay, people living together in a particular place, they form a population. Though they may belong to different races, like even us, we may belong to different tribe or what different color. We are living together, so we all together form a population. So population, we become into an organized society. So that means people living together in a particular place, even though they may belong to different races or creeds, cultures, or different color, they are living in a particular place and in an organized society. So for essential characteristics of state, we can say the first thing is population. And second, territory. A state must have a territory in which the people settle down. A wandering people is not a state. If a person living here and there not have a particular place to live, they cannot be a state. Okay, even like for example, us, we live in a particular place. We are under the government, and we become a state. So a wandering people, a wandering person, or anything, a state which change its position, like there will be a group of people. They used to change their their place here and there. They cannot form an organized society. Okay, so because of that, they cannot become a state. So for to become a state or to be a state, we must settle down in a particular place. We should have our own territory, and it is immaterial whether the territory where the people have settled down is small or large. Whether it is small or large, if they live together and form a population into an organized society, that means they have their own territory. So to become a territory or to become a state, there is no lower limit to the size of the population. And the other characteristics is government. The people and the territory should be governed by a government. Okay, there must be a state government who look after the people, and a state which does not have a government is not regarded as a state. So it is significant to note that the government should not necessarily be an effective government, whether it's effective or not effective. If there is a government who can control the people and the territory, govern the territory properly, that means that particular place has a government and it can be regarded as a state. And a state may be governed either by the representatives of the people or by the monarchies or dynasties under international law. Okay, under international law as well. In case of India, we are governed by the representatives. We elected our leaders through vote. So the leaders are our representatives. But Like in England and all, they have their monarch. They didn't elect their leaders, so state may be governed like in India or like in England and all. Monarchies or dynasties may be there, representatives may be there. They can both be called a government. Okay, who govern the territory and control the people within the states. And next, capacity to enter into relations with other states. A state must have the capacity to enter into relations with other states in order to call it a state in international law. Okay, under international law, one state which we have mentioned, like people, territory, a government, they form a state, but that state must have the capacity to enter into relations with other states. So, if that particular state or a group of people cannot come into relations with other countries or other states, they cannot be called as a state under international law. Do you understand?
Yes, miss.
In Chitantoro, state tour Katuanin, people and Omalo, a Kang people, a group of people canin, particular base a canin, Omkonalai, Lua Bikram and Nay allow a Kang how the canin, Kang population, more people the can proper government, Noya and Omalo. Swan Katikan, state allow informa, Kang state international law, Noya, Swanin state Yakan Kaudon, Swan relations. Bidang nation states dang ten and kanin relations and may allow more treaty agreements there het kan soi to contractual agreements and more conventions ten and kan katikan in thunzom tur and law nitani so more one classification of states alone that are full sovereign or independent states. Independent states are fully sovereign members of the family of nations. They are termed in international law as sovereign states. Normal type of subjects of international law and exercise undivided authority over all persons and property within their borders and are independent of direct control by the other power. They are fully sovereign states. So those states are looking after by themselves, without the power of other independent states. So they are independent in nature and they have their own government. They have their own government and that the representatives of the states look after their relations with other states. They have their own government. They are able to look after by themselves without depending on another states. More katakhanin the states are in full sovereign independent states more independence here. Independence means freedom from control from other states, more from the government or other foreign relations. They are free from all those controls and it's full sovereign states. So independent states, the idea of dependence necessarily implies a relation between a superior state and an inferior or subject state. The relation between the state which can legally impose its will and the state which is legally compelled to submit to that will. Where there is no such relation of superiority and subordination, it is impossible to speak of dependence within the meaning of international law. The dependent states they have their limited capacity for foreign relations. Okay, they depend on other states and within the relations and all next akan so sa mga it is not necessary for a state to be independent in order to be a state of international law. Dependent states like independent states and law relationship between superior state more in internal and external relations ang si ka om thei ta khang a khanin an mania in enpol thei lo on state kha an lo om ta khang te khanin heta superior state a khanin lam ta ka khanin in khana le an chan puina ang si te kha an lo mo ta ka khanin dependent states ka an om le ta independent an mania in enpol thei ang si te government an mania om le internal external affairs ang si an mania butia in thei lo state kan independent states ka an lo tani Swan kinds of states kan there states kan ti kanin international law nuaya ka chuanin state do kanin dependent states and nikher ngai lo at ita chu ta chuanin different types of states ka aron piang tani ta chuan pakhat na chuan composite communities and that so state is generally a single international person where there is one central political authority as government representing the state. There may be composite international person. That state is generally a single person, international person. To become international person, what we've mentioned before in the previous class, like there can a state can be an international person, and NGOs those charges. Organizations can also be an international person under international law if they are granted special special entities also they are granted there's a special case so they become an international person. State generally it's a single international and then an international person where political authority is government state and that in opposite states katikanin unite ano inzom ho ang site kathi om the ani ve thau ta chu ta chuanin composite communities kha area ani chu more real union two kinds of composite international persons on that chuan real unions le ta what is real union a real union is in existence when two or more sovereign states generally is international person when two or more sovereign states by an international treaty convention and treaties to the term of the treaties depend upon the two states. Okay, the same monarch and for international purpose and it can be an external relations. They act as one state. Okay, the two sovereign states they unite. They come into existence. Two states become one state by means of international treaty. Okay, regarding their international purpose, external relations. So, a real union we can call it a state, but merely a union of two full sovereign states, which together make one single but composite international person. They unite. Okay, so that composite communities they become one. They become as one through their international treaty or international purpose, and therefore for external relations act they unite, they become a real union, and they become one single composite international person. In Shetiam Piro Katiang external relations like international purpose kan two sovereign independent states the ka unlock some from the Keta ato ho na chazok emo an mani ram son na turang katiang ang til ata turang khan tikhan ano injong kongan so tiswanin kami te khanin two full sovereign states khanin one single composite international person khanin anlo mang thaida khami khang kha composite communities lo ni tani so chithiam emo to real unions ka anlo nitani more real unions niya federal states personal union and only personal union at one personal union is in existence when two sovereign states and separate international persons are linked together through accidental fact that they have the same individual as a monarch. These states retain their separate identities for external purposes. A personal union is an international person. The two sovereign member states retaining their separate international entities. That's a personal union. Union or most sovereign states ka international treaty le same monarch international purpose le external separateness in domestic matters at internal matters akachuanin enge anma ani enge sovereign states and naka pui thau tani masiheta international purpose le external relations atan bi khani lo in enge phwar khom ta mo domestic matters akachuanin anma ani enge dependent and some purposes are more international external relations that's one personal union at one excellent the fact that they have the same individual and these states retain their separate for external purposes personal union at one so external purposes money independent and more personal union heta individual same individual and monarch heta ramro na represent their own representative and elect na dilaw waya kanin lang wayang ang anlaw data dito tingnan kati ang kay anma ani ina representative and nilaw lal an namo monarch and monarchy and monarchical system of government siya kanin kami te kanin kati nga link unlock in some message to that one external purpose and identity heta sovereign states and na kanin external purpose mo katikan asyanin an naileta kati ang personal union katumi an yabang swani international person ka anilauta mo two sovereign member states kanin enge separate international entities and manin enge antinga kanti ang lal pakhat nuai ang akan lo ani po international non nuai tuan personal union ka international person kanti ang ka ani tayo ta an mani ram mal de international personally in more personally in and money in till anti-chin dinari to heta inge public email na katanin internal relations tan bit zawin khadia ang khanin anin zong ta inge domestic matters after and money till anti mase anni chuan international law waya khanin the state is independent more under international law heta monarch same individual as monarch and na ma khaw khanin an lowing ka an part of the personal union so international law waya khachuani separate international entities and we don't need to in short I'm a letting ang ani to heta real union le personal union ka so confederation confederation so a confederation is constituted by a number of full sovereign states linking together by an international treaty into union with organs of government extending over the member states, not over the subject of those states. Confederation, confederation, like states are linking together with another states through an international treaty. Okay, they signed an international agreements between between each other, and then the union of the government extending the member states. They work through it's between state and state. Okay, but they did not interfere in the subjects of the other states. Or they unite by means of compact for the purpose of mutual cooperation or defense. So this confederating states, they link together as for the purpose of defense for cooperation or defense, but they didn't interfere with the subjects of other states. Mutual cooperation le defense atang kanin hang confederation ram le ram kha an inchui khom chinta ni chu chuanin khatia ang matter sa khanin i anin relata an thok hawa ma chengin heta state chunga an subjects te khachu an in khoi sak lo ta ni chu mo ema hi enge ending kan te ang an in ti boy lawa state subject because the Amazigh, they unite just for the purpose of mutual cooperation or defense. So, and such confederation is not a state; it is more or less a society of an international character, and the member states remain full sovereign states and they maintain their international position. They are united, they are linking together just for the purpose of mutual cooperation or defense, and they still have the international character, and they remain independent, as sovereign states, and they maintain their international position. They did not interfere in the subjects of other states, and they are independent by themselves and look after by themselves in all other matters. In Shetiam and Confederation, Akatwanin, Katyang organs, the government, in a state, teka, kami, in Anmani international agreements, more treaty, Mankanin, Confederation, Atani, a teacher of the Dika Apoy Modontani treaty akan ang angin sign mo an mani ramle ram the kan jan in rem siam na kan an nation ta but se heta apak an rem siam tin ang kato anin khoi bai pilawa anin tinang lam sipa an ba in rod lawa khata kanin in yes sovereign states mo an mani fully independent an ni na ang tika ang ngai ring nakalta an agreement and treaty mil chung mi chawa khanin enge an in an in som khop ta ni mo in terms of the treaty kha apoi ta treaty a chan chumi khami chin chaw awam chin chawa nga khanin an in som khop ta apa thila chan an in lo tina ni chu John federal states federal state is a perpetual union of several sovereign states which has organs of its own and is vested with power not only over the members but also over their citizens. The ordinary powers of sovereignty are partly vested in the federal government and partly in the separate state, but the authorities being coordinated within their respective sphere. Federal states are not only the member states but also over their citizens, and the federal states are kajanin kadyang ang an mania in ang sikha along hilabang kanin heta member states the more stateless state not local citizens the can kanin and ba abba tunay na ang sikha an law neta chuta chuani member states of federal state too. It is not possible for the member states of a federal state to be recognized as international persons for the reason that they are neither the full nor half sovereign political entities, and therefore they are not states in the sense in which the term is used in international law. Under international law, the federal states cannot be called an international person because they are neither full nor half sovereign political entities. Okay, they are partly sovereign states and they are international persons for some purposes only. And the Indian Constitution actually union government noya kan omtani mo. Although it permits the federal government to Indian noya kan omta Indian noya Mizoram state law omlet tani. Mizoram state law omlet ta India government noya Mizoram government kani Pune nation ka hatikan kan law nei heta federal states sa chuan khating ang chak khani unpower ka mo Union of India what na pa khani heta the citizens thoram chunga heta central government heta Mizoram noyanin thu nei na nei chia khan ho federal states and even mani ko federal government chu tiang che chuanin union government at the center to convert itself into a unitary in terms of emergency and they're not union government more government the union government federal and they're not two nation ang si Mizoram and they're not emergency for union government kan in heta emergency tila chuanin president kan article 3 noya kan emergency arangwang kan prongkong kuya kanin enge khatia ang thil enge thupek achwa khanin kan sombe to thil ka heta government central government ajang kan aron omchinda khatia cha kan federal states chuanin not only enge union government but all over the citizens of the Anzikan Tunay na it's unitary government not up its home government yata central government kan tunay na pumpong ka aron na chief kaya ka federal states at one and done there's a state ka omneta there's a state at one Abazal state is under the state is under the suzerainty of other state and the one which is completely under the suzerainty of another state. It means dominant state. Okay, a dominant state controlling the foreign relations but allowing its sovereign authority in its internal affairs. State it's under the dominant of another state, okay, regarding its foreign relations, foreign matters, but within the internal affairs, they have their sovereign authority. More internal affairs ka to anmalin unlaw in real bol na sorkar in real bol na internal affairs ka to anmalin an kaltang puita masengin heta foreign relations ang si khatya ang si khatani heta state khatkanin state ang khas control tani so mo visual state ang khatani some of its internal matters are also controlled by other states, okay. External matters, foreign relations, but they allow their sovereignty to look after their internal affairs. But the internal matters are also controlled by other states. Chenlaya katani dikhani internal matters focus state dang khani control sakchintan so mo state state dang thu dai noya khani state pakhat ka au ngani tan so ba chani fully sovereign and khani lo ma khani international law authority position and they lo ta a vessel has no right of declaring war nor or making alliances with foreign powers. For this acts impair its allegiance to the suzerain bidang thunmaya miao abang khanin katyang khan ama du lin athunmaya umzo ka mo as a state zo ka bidang thunmaya umzo khan ama thu in atu to kha atibet hello war de declare hello ta more foreign powers ang foreign relations ka state enge ama optu state thune na kha ani miao ba kha ama tu in dikhanin atibet hello ta chu ba ta chan bidang thunmaya omani ba khan an internal matters ta khato an ma ni in law in ngai twa thema se bidang thunmaya omani ba khanin enge vessel state ta kha international law noya katwanin position and neilawa international person ka ani law tinani so mo in shathanem ka soi pok pa
Yes. Hello. Tuna vessel state iti akhanin karil ruwa Jammu and Kashmir na article 370 an man lai kha karil ruwa alo langa chu engemot chena example atan an mangdon taila athe angem tuna hemi vessel state
imo meaning ata chon anni po Jammu and Kashmir po Indian maya Indian state pakhatalaw ni tani masengin special treatment back an law ni ta pero enge nang mana ron soidan enge irilwa omdan
Englo kami 370 akhanin an internal matters kha an mani thunwai akhanin da kha ani veta ni chuanin international affairs kan ti tele defense sungchanga kha chuanin central India kuda khana om thungta chu karil ruwa chuanin kami tuna vassal state kan tia an internal matters kan ti le external international relation kan tia khanin lo khung kan tum dewa chu engemaw chena kala confused de oneka
mo kami aka chuanin Internan India anga kan soilan chuan federal states ang kha atlang pui kha chu an don ta ni chu mani le in India le Mizoram lam ta se federal states kha kan ni shim ta ni chuan vassal state ani chuanin enge Jammu and Kashmir ne hanin Jammu and Kashmir ki vassal state ani thei ZM kashelawa hemi achang hian mo athan chu vassal state chuanin some of the internal matters are also controlled by the government the state which has power over the other states akhani internal matters ko kha vassal state chuanin enge heta other state khan a khoi na chin kha om ve thau ta ni chu ban chuanin Jammu and Kashmir hi all the internal matters are controlled by their own ani kha chuanin vassal state kha chu ani thei lo tin ani ta ni
Chiang Miss
Thank you. Vassal state as one. Some of the internal matters are also controlled by other states. They have their power to look after their internal affairs. No, they have their own autonomy, but some of the matters are controlled by the other state. Alam nila tatu kansanin JNK tu vassal state kan take care lawang.
Thank you.
John next hey kan subject to in ning to me kaya protectorate state ka on let tani to protectorate state at one they entrust the matter of defense and external affairs to other state otherwise it is sovereign ta hanin separate existence and tani protectorate state ka tuani and in the weaker states can in protection of the stronger states ka mo anba hum himna anba dil ang kha anitani so protectorate state khanin to that one by means of treaty ang khan mo by means of treaty they seek for the protection of a stronger state. So the terms of the treaty is important here also. Okay, protecting state le protected state ka don ta chuta chuanin heta chuan zabera chuanin mania enge state confidence an nei lo ta and state ka lo weak ta chan queen ngai especially external affairs like in the matter of defense akhanin state lian zo more stronger the states that na kanin protection ka an badil chintani to that chuanin international business ang khatsu it is left to the protecting state up and badil te mo a protector zo ka protected nilawin a protecting state kanin international business khatsu don ta dinani to chuanin to terms of the treaty ka apoy mo na two state in car and only the external relations there sometimes internal affairs of the weak states depend upon the provisions of the treaty at ita to state khanin bitang chanpuina anbadil ta protecting state khanin kami badil tu ka anlo protect tani so kami protect unprotected ka protected state anlo ita to that one, a protected state, the external relations, and some of the internal affairs. More of the the weak state depend upon the provisions of the treaty. So that one, a provisions of the treaty, had a conclusion of the treaty and the like and man state in Kara and provisions ka po mo don ta dinani to more so internet to one colonial protectorate colonies can take full or partial political control at ita colonial protectorate and in international persons less subjects to international law and to protectorate state to more certain They retain for certain purposes a position of its own as an international person and are subjects of international law. Protected state ka lo ni ma se they retain for certain purposes a position of its own. Mo an ma niya we ka heta protected state ka lo ni ma se mo heta an ma ni din pa ngai sovereign state an ni na certain purposes akhanin angai angin an la nei thei di na ni chu separate existence an nei mo protectorate state kha chuanin separate existence an nei ta a chuan enge khati khanin an ma ni in midang chanpuin ang mamo in an external affairs ate katyang ang enge external relations with other countries akhanin midang chanpuin na kapamamo ing mase mo internal affairs akhanin an ma ni in khati khanin protecting state takhanin and internal affairs as some of enroll na tina o ma se an enroll na chana chuanin an lo enroll ani chuan provisions of the treaty kha ani don ta chu ban chani an ma ni state le state rem siam na chi ani khami lai treaty an ma ni internal affairs an va enroll na kha chu a treaty based tour ang ani bang kha khan chu state pa ni ingar don ta ni a chuan protectorate state chuan independent existence and nei ta chuan international person and we take out in nani to subjects of international law and we out how don nani to more kha in different states to allow da in shit yamen or rights of states le duties is soile lo bang or rights of the state akhan right to independence ka ta to ta chuanin right to independence kan ti chuan every state has state and to chuan they have the right to independence and to exercise freely without dictation by another state midang the state dang the ina antuna ina khadyang inma developing and mani more they have the right to independence and to exercise freely without the dictation of midang state dang ro in Philippines and mani khan independent zalian na an nei don tina ni to second na chuan right to territorial jurisdiction. Article 2, it provides that every state has the right to exercise jurisdiction over its territory. Okay, they have their jurisdiction over their territory and over all persons and things living therein. Okay, living within the territory. Every state has the right to look after the people living and to look after the territory and all the persons and things within its territory and its more territorial jurisdiction rights and neta chuanin next chuan right to equality on leta right to equality kan ti chuan also neta right to equality with every law within the state and to within the territory more and down the door right to self-defense every state has the right of individual or collective self-defense against armed attack. They have the individual or collective self-defense against armed attack. So, duty to respect or dignity. They have the states have their own right to respect or dignity within their territory. And more rights, duties on letter duties to refrain from intervention. They have the state has a free duty to refrain from intervention in the external or internal matters. Disturbance from any external or internal affairs. They have the right. They have the duty to refrain themselves. So, duty to refrain from fomenting civil strife. Duty to refrain from fomenting civil strife. It says that every state has the duty to refrain from fomenting civil strife in the territory of another state. And to prevent the organization within its territory of activities calculated to foment such civil strife. There can be an incident and happen an accident or something unexpected used to come up, so they uh, have to protect themselves on all kinds of things, and it is their duty to refrain from all those fomenting civil strife. And next, duty to respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It lays down that every state has the duty to treat all persons under its jurisdiction with respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, without distinction to race, sex, religion, and all. Okay, so the duty of the state is to respect for every person living in its territory, and they should have the human rights and fundamental freedoms, respect of sex, race, caste, and all. Duty number 4, duty to ensure international peace. Article 7. Kanin, every state has the duty to ensure the conditions prevailing in its territory that menace international peace and other international peace should be prevail in the territory, and it's the duty of the state to control all its citizens to maintain the international peace. So to settle disputes also by peaceful means without war or without disturbing others, they if there is anything disputes, if any dispute is coming up, they have to settle. The state is the state. It is the duty of the state to settle all the disputes within its people, within the citizen, with the citizens by peaceful means. And duty to refrain from resorting war. Refrain from giving assistance. More giving assistance. State it's the duty of the state to refrain from giving assistance to any state which is acting in violation of Article 39, that is violation of the duty to refrain from resorting to war or against which the United Nations is taking preventive or enforcement action. Kanin resorting to war, refrain from resorting to war, the kanin duty of the state. They have to give assistance. Resorting to war violation of Article 39. Kami akanin, it is the duty of the state to give assistance to any state. To kanin ini kata ang tilaw kan kanin kan puito ani makan puito ani ang kalaw nita recognizing territorial acquisition mo kakaumita acquisition others they any violence of force or anything they try to acquire the territory of another state. So if that thing happen to it is the duty of the state to stop all those things. If someone try to acquire our territory, if another state by means of force or any other means, it is the duty of the state to refrain from it. So obligations in good relations with other states it is every state has the duty to carry out in good faith its obligations more arising from treaties and other sources of international law. An international treaty ang site ang kanin takin an hen swap for law nita state takan mo midang state na harsip na untay zong nakakan ang treaty and sign there an agreement and sign there ang zong takin an hen swap for the so tuan bidang kanya anin light sim na kan mo katikanin chatakin an king only other states na international law maya in po in light chatakin an king so rights and duties sarang economic system more right economic right of a state of an economic system there natural resources ang data international trade ang de ang ka insum doon na kanin right and data duties po ka ang promotion of expansion and liberalization of world trade ang si kada ang si mo ang insum doon na le ram ile barkong akanin di purle nge zanvo le di tur kha kada ang siyang ka anlaw ne beta at ta zani nge state kanin hen te hi an zomin an ti tur ani ti ang ka ano ni ta ni chu sorry right there may going tan swan khang hau jong khalo ni la ulum te rin hemi economic rights and duties te po hi in lau chair nga swan hemi ba ka hianin adang hau vo ina kan soi zong if you have any questions you can share and I might for today there's it's too noisy and if you have any doubt please that's all for today. You may leave the class, put your roll number on the chat list, and I'll note it down again.